What influences our poker decisions? How do we decide which play to make? Well, clearly, the point should be to make plus EV decisions. So when in poker, when you're comparing a couple of decisions, you will always have the fold button available. And to simplify thinking about decisions, we consider the fold button to be 0 EV. Any decision that does better than fold, well, that's a plus EV decision. But just thinking about making plus EV decisions sometimes stops the thought process when you should have gone a bit further. More about that in this video.
Son, I would tell you this much, son. I would never have put more 3,000 with 2 tens.
Oh, here we go.
That's why they sent me. I am an expert.
So in this video, I'm gonna talk about maybe doing better than just making a plus EV decision. A fold is 0 EV, but you still have more than one option. And sometimes we just find a plus EV decision that makes our life simple. And we make that move. We're like, how bad can it be? It is plus EV after all. I mean, that's pretty good, right? To illustrate this concept, or to talk more in depth about this, I have opened a Simple Postflop sim. Now, I'm not going to do an in-depth review of this sim. That's not what I want to do with my YouTube channel. I am still a coach for the UPSWING lab, and I keep my more in-depth analyses for the lab, and I'm not going to do that on YouTube. Just want to make it worth it for the people who are paying up to subscribe to the UPSWING lab. Link down below. Anyways, so Simple Postflop. I have this sim here of a button versus big blind spot. I'm not going to go too in depth about all the settings of the sim, but we have button versus big blind, and we have about a 1/3 pot c-bet size for the button. The board is Ace-5-4 rainbow. When we click here and look at the Nash EVs, so these are the equilibrium EVs, an output of the solver, we see that player 2 has a reasonable advantage. So player 2 will capture 2.8 out of a pot of 5, baby. You can also look at equities, and we see that player 2 has a small equity advantage. So on this board, there's actually maybe less c-betting than you would expect at first. Usually when you have that advantage, you can just c-bet and get away with it. And the hands I want to be looking at here are these hands that kind of clearly prefer a check back. So all the king highs here, from king queen till king 6. When you look here, you can see the EVs of both actions. So you can see the EV of a check back, and you can see the EV of a bet. So king queen is kind of indifferent if you look at the EVs, but prefers a check back. But if you look at a hand like king 10, you also still see kind of indifference, but preference of a check back. But king 8 here has a drastic difference in EV, and it's not indifferent anymore. Like, this EV difference is huge, and you should just check back. So with king 7, it gets bumped up again to almost the same EV, but in general you want to be checking back these kings. Queen jack, same, you check back these hands, and you are c-betting some of the worst queens and like the kings with a gut shot. So we have a plus EV c-bet, but we still try to do better than that, and we go for a check back. And that check back EV consists out of king queen, for example, checking back and hitting the king or the queen. It also generates some EV when the turn is a card we improve on to a gut shot, let's say a 10 or a jack, or a turn where we hit our flush draw. But check back EV also encapsulates future bluffing opportunities, for example. So you could check back a hand, villain checks turn to us, and he check folds the turn. So there's also some EV in those lines. Now in this spot, king queen is a hand that is just gonna try to check it down. It's usually gonna fold to a bet unless the bet is really small or we improve in some way. And I understand that it feels really gross to have a plus EV c-bet on the flop and you don't make it, and then you have to fold to a turn bet. That's like, why? Why didn't I just c-bet the flop? And now I check back and I have to fold. Like, I'm losing out here. I should have just bet the flop and get it over with. That's your mind playing tricks on you, because villain won't always bet the turn. Sometimes you just get to check it down. Sometimes you get a turn you improve on. Sometimes, yeah, villain doesn't bet. So we just see this one spot where we're doing bad when villain bets and we have to fold. But that's not everything that could have happened. It's just one specific run out of all runouts that happened. And well, you have to fold there, and that's fine. And I'm making this video and talking about this spot because it is something I tend to not play perfectly. I'm definitely over c-betting this board. I also always think like, just he's folding too much, I'm gonna c-bet and pick it up, and boom, done with the hand. And it's plus EV, so how bad can it be? But some moves that are plus EV are like barely plus EV, and it means you're not really capturing a lot out of the pot. So for example, with the King 8, we saw that the EV of a bet is can even turn negative, or be barely plus EV. So a checkback is drastically better here. Same with the King 9. So all the checkbacks are clearly plus EV, even though we have to fold 2 bets on lots of turns and rivers. So I just want you to keep this in mind, that sometimes the flop checkback will be plus EV, or a certain line will be plus EV, even though if you have to fold versus a turn or river probe from villain. This doesn't mean you made a bad decision. It only means that villain happens to have a hand that is gonna bet for value or bet as a bluff, but sometimes he doesn't have those hands, and then you can bluff yourself, or you can check it down and take your hand to showdown. So on this board, King Queen or King Jack or whatever just has some showdown value. We're just gonna try to get to showdown. So let's check back the flop and go to a turn. So I'm gonna click the check back part of the game tree, and we can look at the EVs here. So we still have an advantage after we check back. So on these ace high boards, we have some weaker aces that can protect our check back range, and we can try to take a bunch of hands to showdown that way, because if villain puts on too much pressure, we will be able to show up with a lot of ace X to just call down. So having those aces, those way ahead or way behind aces that don't need a lot of protection, they function well to do that. So we go to a turn. I'm gonna click here and we're gonna have a look at the EVs. So on the 9th turn we do pretty well. Our EV increases again, so it's a reasonably good turn for us. And we see that villain doesn't really get to lead a lot because our range is still so strong, and we have a bunch of aces. We hit some boats with a 9, so villain just can't go blasting away. So if he leads on this 9 for about 60% pot, no, exactly 60% pot, we see that we fold some of these king highs. It's interesting that we have some calls with king jack and king 10, but we're not really gonna think about that. So those are solver style plays to be not over folding, but in general you're folding these king highs. So this is where it feels dirty, feels bad. You had a plus EV c-bet on the flop and now you're just folding your hand. What up with that? But villain only gets to bet 20% of the time. So when he doesn't bet, you are a step closer to showdown and you check back these king highs. Now some of them maybe you're gonna try to take the showdown, maybe with some others you're gonna try to bluff the river at some point. So yeah, let's do that. Let's go to a river. I'll take a jack river, let's say, and villain bets. So we have check check the flop, check check. Villain gets to lead the river, and again we are folding these kings, although making tiny fraction of nice hero calls here. But when he doesn't lead the river, we get to check down our king queen, and now we decide to bluff some of our weaker kings. So even a hand like king 8 has some check back value sum. There's EV in the check back. Yeah, the check back EV is in the part of the game tree where we're allowed to check back all the way to the river and take our hand to showdown. Sometimes we improve to a hand. Yeah, our EV obviously sucks when villain bets the turn, but this is one specific part of the game tree. We're folding the kings there. Same on the river. He bets. We're folding most of the kings there. But that doesn't mean our flop check back was bad. You have to see and think about all the possible things that could have happened. And sometimes, well, villain has a hand that bets for value or is a bluff that will make you fold. And yeah, when I'm playing, I'm very often going for, I don't really know what to do, I'll just c-bet and get it over with. And often that's a decent strategy. Very often the button has a big advantage and your c-bet frequency in the solver would already be really high. So c-betting a tiny bit more doesn't really differ that much. But on some boards, there's a clear preference for a bigger check-back range. And this is one of those boards. I also ran a sim with a note lock on the flop to see if villain folding a bit more maybe incentivizes us to c-bet more often with those hands that seem to prefer a check back. This is villain's response versus a small c-bet. And he's folding about 32%. So I note locked a sim where I manually put some of these borderlines that are mixed strategies. I put those in his calling range. So I'm gonna open that sim now and we'll have a look at how that influences our c-bet preference. Here we are again with the locked sims. So these king highs I all locked, folding more of this range of hands and some of the queens. So it's mostly folding extra hands, but it's also removing some check raise bluffs. So we went from 32 to 39 folding frequency. And our c-bet frequency increased from 41, I think, to 49. So we still see a big preference for some hands to just check back. And the funny thing is, I think, yeah, with King Queen, King Jack, King 10 in our first sim without note locking, the EV difference between a bet and a check was kind of equal. But versus a villain that overfolds, King Queen is actually a worse bet. The EV when you bet is worse. I never really thought about that actually. I'm surprised by this result. While it should be intuitive because, well, the hands I made villain fold in my note lock are worse kings. So when I bet King Queen, King Jack or King 10, in the real sim, villain needs to call with worse kings. But in this sim, he folds them. So that makes the betting option for us worse. So I will try to remember this to, on this kind of boards, just check back those kings. Even though a flop c-bet is the easy way out, there is a big EV difference for some of these hands. And when you want to maximize your win rate, you should think about more than just making plus EV plays. No, you want to go for the max EV option. And the solver often has mixed strategies and it all seems indifferent, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes the solver is not indifferent and we see this clear EV difference. I hope I explained to you where this check back EV comes from. So I realize that sometimes you check back and you will have to fold to some kind of aggression, but that doesn't mean the check back is wrong. You're supposed to have some hands that check back and fold to a turn bet. You're supposed to have some hands that check back twice and fold to a river bet. Yeah, King Queen and King Jack just has some showdown value. So sometimes you just try to show down these kings, but depending on the run out, sometimes you will bluff with some of the weaker kings, but you still show down King Queen or King Jack when you have the chance. Of course, there can be all kinds of exploitative reasons to make certain plays. But here on the flop, just saying villain overfolds, I'm going to see bet 100% of the time, likely isn't enough of a reason to bet hands like King Queen and King Jack. That's actually something I learned just now. I should have known this. I've been playing for so many years. I'm just very often inclined to, I'm going to see bet 100% of my range. It's plus EV play. It simplifies the hand. Let's get it over with. Yeah, I hope this video will remind me of the fact that I can do more. I should do more. And I hope this video is also an inspiration for you guys to look for those spots where a bet is plus EV, but you can just do so much better if you try to. Okay, that's gonna be it for this quick little video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please smash like. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment. And yeah, please share this video with a friend who might enjoy it. If you're looking to go more in depth, hit the UPSWING lab where I'm making videos. If you like this piece of software, Simple Postflop, hit the link in the description where you can buy it with 10% off. Same goes for other simple poker products like Simple GTO Trainer, but also they just released a Omaha solver, which I have no experience with, but I know they did and it should be at least decent. You can also get that with 10% off. And they also have a multi-way solver, but again, I don't have any personal experience with it. I still have so much work to do on the heads up spots, and I think I will just keep focusing on those, but maybe some of you are interested in that multi-way solver. It's called Simple 3-way, and you can also get it with 10% off. Oh my god, that was such a long promotion. Probably no one made it till the end, till right now, but if you did, thank you so much. I appreciate you, you're special. See you guys back in the next one.